Yeah. So it's recording. I'll send you that.
Awesome.
So I know we were just chit-chatting, but to get started, can you just tell me a little bit about you?
Yeah, so obviously my name is Kyle Reese. I'm a student at Dell Tech. This is my third year. I started off in exercise science. Wasn't really into it, so then I switched over to the communications program because I saw you can do like social media, sports photography, stuff like that. So I was really interested in that. Currently I work at Dick's Sporting Goods in Dover, Delaware. Normally work like 30 hours a week there when I can in between that and school. Um, and I'm a volunteer basketball coach for Upward Sports in Townsend.
Nice. So sports is a very big part of your life.
Yes, huge.
Yeah. Cool. So trying to find what kind of sports did you play growing up? You said, or you coach basketball? So
Yeah,
did
I
you play
coach.
basketball?
Yeah, so I played basketball when I was younger, and I also play in a men's league in September. It's like a fall summer league. I played baseball, football, all the good stuff as much as I could.
Yeah, I gotcha. No, I was a year-round athlete too. I miss it sometimes.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your goals that you have then. So it sounds like sports is kind of the main driving factor, and you want to find an industry that you can do something related to athletics or sports with. And right now it looks like it's going to be media. Is that like media and marketing, or do you want to do content creation for like a company or a team? Like what do you hope to, I guess, get into either after graduation or like a path you hope to get yourself on for the next few years?
Yeah, so one thing that really interests me is like seeing content creation done for like sports teams, like their Instagrams, like their media or admin, whatever they really call them. I'm really interested in that. So that would be like my main thing is being like a content creator focused on sports or a social media for a sports team, a social media person. And if that didn't work out, I was gonna try and get into sports photography. Um, but I really, really am trying to get into the media. My mom works for the Bank of America, way up north. And she said that they have a social media team, and after I get my degree, showing them that I have the degree would give me a good chance of getting hired there as well. So really anything social media related, and then if that wouldn't work out, I would try and go to sports photography.
Gotcha. It sounds, I like that you have kind of the plan that you want and then also another plan that's like a potential. It's always nice to have your options open.
Absolutely.
Um, Now, I know these skills can apply to a lot of different areas, especially like any kind of branding or content. Are there kinds that you like to produce some more? Like you mentioned the photography. Are you more focused on like still image, or do you like to do video or other? Because I mean, content can also be, articles and podcasts. Like what kinds of, I guess, mediums or platforms do you really like using the most?
Yeah, so I'm currently in a podcasting class for school right now, and it's really fun. Obviously, I have a sports podcast, who would have known? Um, so I've been having a lot of fun with that, posting the podcasts. I'm also into, what else? Like video. I have fun with video. I'm not the greatest at it, but it's something that I've been working on and I'm going to continue to work on to be good at. Still like sports photography or like portraits, stuff like that. I really like doing. That's like with a camera, that's going to be like my main thing is like sports action photography, portraiture. I've worked with light painting photography. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. That was really fun. Yeah, so that was really fun. So yeah, videography I'm really trying to get into as well, and then mainly podcasting too, because that's been really fun.
Nice. The light painting, I've seen the videos and people putting them together on like reels and it's so cool and I've been like, oh, I should figure out how that works. Just more out of the curiosity standpoint. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. It's like what I did when I do it is I set the shutter speed to 10 or 15 seconds, click it, go in the frame, do whatever with the lights, and then it's a cool light barrage.
Yeah, I know that sounds neat. Well, and I wanted to go back because I appreciated, I think, the self-awareness you had when you mentioned, like, I like the photography. I'm working on video. It's something that I want to keep learning more about because I think that the self-awareness is really important for a professional environment to be able to know, like, what you already kind of have under wraps and then the spots that you want to work on. Can you tell me a little bit more about maybe some other, like, strengths and weaknesses you have, whether they're technical skills or just, you know yourself? Like, I know I'm sometimes a little unorganized. But what do you think are your biggest strengths and weaknesses that you would be able to bring to a new position once you graduate?
So one of my biggest strengths is I'm a really social person. So I'm gonna get along with anyone no matter what. I really don't let people's bad attitudes or negativity affect me. I really just, when people are negative, bad attitude, I just try to make their day better, you know. So really social, really positive. I'm really good with like the computers and the editing software, stuff like that. I've really been working on that as well. When I first started the communications program, I had zero clue what I was doing when it came to that stuff. So that's something I've really been working on. Like Adobe Audition for my podcast has been working out for me pretty good. Premiere Pro for video editing, really good. So yeah, I can really focus on a task that I get to get done. Like if I need to edit this or film that and edit this, it's something I can work on really well is getting it done and making sure it's done right.
Gotcha. Nice. I think that might kind of wrap up a lot of my questions for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I was wondering like how do you like the company? Like what have they brought to you?
Yeah, so my job here, I'm the digital content manager for Draper Media. I'm not sure how much Mary or Miss Borger has talked about that. So I oversee our digital content, so websites, apps, social media, streaming, newsletters, kind of anything that's not our TV or on air portions. Um, and I work across our news teams like WBOC and Coast TV with the Delmarva Sports Network, if you've heard of them or are familiar. And we have a
Yeah.
group of lifestyle shows and radio stations as well. So my plate's really full and there's a lot, but I'm not as hands-on right now in doing the day-to-day creation. Like it's kind of rare now that I'll write an article or that I would edit a video. I'm more so
Mhm.
working with a few lead people on those teams or with like reporters on those teams and encouraging um, and asking for them to produce specific kinds of content. Like, hey, you have a story that's this way on TV, but then let's cut like a 30-second reel and then make sure you link to this thing in your article. So it's a lot of ongoing training for people. And I gave that background to actually answer your question about what I like about it. And I think it's that every day is very different here. Um,
Mhm.
Under the surface, I usually have a few long-term ongoing projects for more of our like, I guess you would call it like corporate side or like executive side.
Yeah.
Things like rebuilding our jobs websites and that kind of thing. And then here and there are sprinkles in of working with our teams on certain projects, like if we want to redo the navigation on a website or a radio wants to launch a new podcast, that kind of thing. So I really like the variety that I have. And I think that that's fun because every day is a little different. And for me as a person,
Mhm.
I think that helps keep this kind of fresh and exciting. So I'd say
Yeah.
that's, yeah. And there's just a lot of opportunity, especially Draper is we're like locally owned, so we're kind of like small mom and pop, like local business,
Mhm.
but we're also big enough that there's so much opportunity. And other people here have moved between departments. Like maybe you start with the sports network, but then you want to go to our lifestyle shows, or maybe you start behind the scenes as a photographer or editor, and then you end up being a reporter on air. So there's, because we do so much, there's a lot of opportunity to move around because this isn't the job I started doing here. So I guess those are my two. It's the everyday is different, and then the opportunity for some growth here are probably my favorites.
That's awesome. And then I had one more question if that's okay.
Yeah,
So
sorry that
if
was a lot, but yeah.
no, no, you're all good. That was great. So if I was hired, like could you tell me like about the team that I'd be working with or like who I report to?
Yeah, so it sounds like because you're really interested in sports, I would imagine you'd be most interested in our Delmarva Sports Network.
Hmm.
Okay. So if you were working with DSN, you would most likely be reporting to Kayla Santiago, and she is our sports director. So you might
Awesome.
see her on air or on broadcasts. She would be your day-to-day person. And then she has a manager above her who may come in every now and then and do some reworking with the team, but generally she would be your day-to-day report. Our sports teams usually work at night, and that's common across the industry. If you're working in sports, you're most likely working on weekends and at night because that's
Okay.
when sports are happening. So your
Yeah.
schedule um, is usually, I would say, a little bit inconsistent
Hmm.
compared to some of our other teams, just because, maybe your game is at 4 o'clock, so you have to come in at 1 or 2 to get ready. But maybe the
Yeah.
next day your game isn't until 7, so you come in a little later, but you don't get home until later. So sports,
Yeah.
I think people need to be prepared to be really flexible with the schedule, and also be prepared to be a one-man band because sometimes you may get sent out by yourself to go shoot highlights and then come back. A lot of the people on the sports team will go out to a game alone. They'll stream it, they'll shoot highlights, they'll write an article, they'll post highlights, and they send stuff back in for the show. So it's a lot of independent work, but also kind of a lot of collaboration behind the scenes of being in touch about changes and stuff like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That
Cool.
sounds
Yeah.
so cool. Like going on a solo mission, going out to the game, doing everything, coming back. That's awesome.
And I'll say that team's kind of 50-50. So I'd say half of them work more solo out of some different locations. And
Uh-huh.
then there's one kind of core team that works out of our Salisbury office and they do the multicam broadcast. So that might be a team of, I want to say maybe it's 5 or 6 of them, like a producer, a director, the people calling a game on air, and then maybe 2 or 3 camera people. So they work more as a team on a regular basis. And then the
Yeah.
rest of the team, which is about half of it, they are more independent. So it kind of depends on which role you would end up having. We do get a
Yeah.
little bit of sports photography though. The roles kind of change depending on the skills people bring in. So, like if you came to us and you were interested in photography, we would definitely find opportunities and ways to use those skills since you have them and you have that interest. I'm just saying that because if you look at the page right now, you might not see a lot of photography on our pages because our team just doesn't have somebody who is like photo like focused at this time, but we have
Yeah.
had that in the past. So the team kind of changes depending on the skills and interests of the people on it, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
Cool.
that
Do you have any other
sorry, no,
questions?
no,
No,
that I
no.
was gonna say that wraps up all the questions that I had.
Cool. Do you mind? I know Miss Borger asked me to look through your resume and your portfolio if we spend a minute talking about some of that too before we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the layout of your resume is totally fine. Skills and abilities, education experience are the big things that we're going to look for, especially
Uh-huh.
now since you're still in school and you're going off to get your first like jobs out, in like the professional world. That
Right.
education might be useful at the top. As you go along through once you get out of school and you start having a little bit more work experience, that education can probably bump back down, and we want to see that experience up top, a
Right.
little more focused on the experience portion of it. And I love the way that you included a few bullet points with those skills and abilities to give some examples. So you're not just saying, oh, I can take pictures, like, so that way I'm able to actually imagine, like, oh, okay, clearly it's sports photography, but it also looks like you do stills with portraits, or the context is nice and you don't have too many bullets that it's overwhelming. Like I can still skim through this and get the general idea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was nice. I'd say if you can fit it on the page, maybe a bullet or two to help explain some of those experiences could be helpful.
Yeah.
Um, and you want to have some consistency. So at a glance, everything looks clean. But I would say use your space wisely. So like for your job at Dick's Sporting Goods, I can kind of imagine what you're doing there, just be knowing like what the business is. But for stuff
Yeah.
like your internships where you're able to elaborate a little bit more, the way you had that one thing off on the side about creating and scheduling content,
Yeah.
that might be worth maybe putting 2 or 3 bullet points with that experience to explain more specifically like what you did in that internship.
Okay.
Or that could be something that you include in an interview if you get that interview to talk about that experience up front with your like about you or for some of those goals. Like I said, I really liked how you were self-aware with the like, oh, maybe not video, but I'm working on it is such a great way to phrase that.
Yeah.
But it's starting to like, have you guys talked about the STAR method at all in your
Uh,
classes?
yeah, a little bit. It's been talked about.
And I don't even know what STAR stands for, but I know it's the general idea of like you say I can do something and then you give a little example, you elaborate on
Yeah.
how that connects to the job you're trying to get.
Hmm.
Um, so trying to have almost these bullet points in mind of like talking points to be able to show like how your different experiences can apply to that job, especially since you said you're interested in maybe photography, but then also maybe like the content kinds of stuff with the band, like depending on which way you go, you can talk about the same experience. Like in both interviews, you could talk about your internship, but you might want to focus on different parts of the internship. And your resume
Yeah.
can also reflect that a little bit, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Cool.
Yeah, 100%.
No, resume looks good and it looks clean. The pictures on your website are really nice too.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, no, I like those. The internships tab, having that link out, I think maybe it might be a good idea to just put a little bit more context for what you're doing at that internship again, because those are just really valuable experiences to have.
Yeah,
Um, and maybe even if you can't link directly to the content, maybe like a few sub tabs that have some examples of like work that you did while you were there.
right.
Yeah, but no, overall, I said everything looks really clean. So I
Thank
think
you.
yeah, you're on a good track.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, is there anything else that you need from me?
I think besides the recording, I think it's all good.
Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and stop that.